around the world. The bottom line takes a global and exclusive look at evocative issues affecting public attitudes in education, technology, and sports. First, a look at the major top stories around the globe. Malian who saved child to be given French citizenship. 3 killed in terror attack in Belgian city. And on to our third story, which will form our big question: why African countries don't win the World Cup. A Malian guy who scaled a 4-story apartment in Paris with his bare hands to save a child was honored by French President Emmanuel Macron today and offered citizenship. 2 days after his daring Spider-Man-style rescue, Mamadou Gassama was received by the president in his palace. During the meeting, Mr. Macron proposed that Mr. Gassama, who received a medal and a certificate for bravery, to join the French fire service. A gunman shot dead 2 female officers with their own weapons before killing a bystander in a brazen suspected terror attack in Belgium, briefly taking a hostage at a school before being killed by the police. The carnage in the gritty eastern industrial city of Liège began around 10:30 a.m. when the attacker, armed with a knife, repeatedly stabbed the 2 officers before using their own firearms to kill them, prosecutors said. And on to our third story, which will form the basis of our panel discussion today, we ask the big question: why African countries haven't won the World Cup yet? Now, ever since the legendary Pelé predicted in 1977 that an African country would win the World Cup by 2000, many people have agonized over why, 14 years on, the continent has not delivered, despite the much talent we have in our continent. In Kenya, the highest level our national football team has got is to the African Cup of Nations. Out of the 3 global stories we have in store for you, our main story will be focusing on the most anticipated sport event in the world, that is the FIFA World Cup. Now, this will form the basis of our panel discussion today, hence asking the big question: why hasn't any African country won the world-renowned trophy? And to narrow it down to Kenya, to our own national team, Harambee Stars isn't a participant of the World Cup. Feel free to share your opinions on our Twitter handle at @PMaingi using the hashtag World Cup in Kenya. I can see on our Twitter page, Alan Matthew says, World Cup season is here with us and almost everyone is supporting teams outside Africa. Kenya has never qualified or played in the World Cup, and this may be due to lack of adequate experience and exposure from the players, lack of government goodwill and training gear. Thank you, Alan, for that. Next, we have our correspondent, Abubakar Abdullahi, who has something special for us.
The World Cup is arguably the most coveted crown in the footballing world. It is the dream of all footballing nations at some point to see their countries lift the coveted award. We have seen the FIFA World Cup tour the world, and Kenya has had the privilege to host the cup courtesy of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has made one dream a reality for footballing fans in Nairobi and all over the world, and to have the chance to have a first-hand look at the very solid gold trophy that will be presented to the winning team in this year's World Cup, which will be held in Russia. Football lovers had a chance to view the trophy live at KICC, the purpose of which is to spread the joy of the game. During the recent World Cup tour in Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Cabinet Secretary for Sports and Culture challenged the national teams, Harambee Stars, to give a stab at qualifying for the FIFA World Cup, saying that with the vast talent the country has, qualification is an achievable target. The closest we got is to at least have our very own referee oversee some games in the World Cup as an assistant referee, but tables stand. The scourge of corruption that is plaguing the country has struck its ugly head in sports, with FIFA referee Adan Range Marwa caught on camera receiving $600 bribe. That is 60,000 Kenya shillings in order to influence the outcome of an international football match. The 41-year-old is the first Kenyan football official to be involved in any FIFA competition, having featured in the 2011 FIFA Under-17 World Cup. He was named as an assistant referee in 2012 and 2013 African Cup of Nations but his first major international duty was an African Cup match in Zanzibar way back in 2000. Kenya's new coach Sebastian Migne has outlined his global vision for the Harambee Stars with qualification for the 2019 African Cup of Nations just started of his ambition for the East Africans. Kenya began their African Cup of Nations qualifying campaign with a 2-1 defeat by Sierra Leone and will host Ghana on September 7th in their second Group F match before facing Ethiopia in Addis Ababa on October 10th. Can we say there is a hope for us to participate in the most valuable tournament in the world? The last time Kenya took part in a big tournament was in the African Cup of Nations back in 2004. But with progress made, does Kenya stand a chance to qualify for the World Cup? For Bottomline News, I am Abubakar Abdullahi.
Abubakar, could you give us your opinion about what you think about the Harambee Stars not participating in the FIFA World Cup, and maybe to share with us some of the reasons why, and maybe some of the ways we could uplift our game?
Indeed, Patrick, I can hear you very well. I get you live from the studios. Of course, I'm coming to you live from the ground. In relation to the subject of Kenya qualifying for a possible FIFA World Cup, of course, we are not in the favorites at the moment. We have never qualified, but we are eyeing on a possible qualification in 2022, which is a dream many say is far-fetched based on the fact that we lack a structure to enhance the talent that we have. Therefore, World Cup 2022 qualification may seem a dream that is far-fetched and far-placed, but nonetheless, it's the beautiful game of football. We may qualify if and if only we get hold of the talent that we have and make sure they are used properly. The advice I will give to the Kenyan teams and anyone seeking to qualify for a World Cup is it has to be a team. It has to be a national team. And I think what we lack at the moment is playing for the national pride. Players often representing Kenya at an international level lack some sort of an energy to play for the national team with pride. I think the advice I will give is to play for the national team with pride and let it be possible, for it is possible.
Thank you very much, Abubakar. Now, on our Twitter page, again, I see Andrew Maina has tweeted, I think Kenya has the potential to participate in the World Cup. However, the puppeteers are pulling all the wrong strings. That's Andrew. Thank you for that, Andrew. Now, as I said earlier, the World Cup is our main story today, and it is forming our panel discussion today. And right about now, I'm going to introduce our first opinion leader, Mr. Douglas Yegon, who is a player with the Daystar City team. Douglas, welcome to the show.
Well, Patrick, thanks for having me here.
Now, Douglas, could you tell us why the Kenyan team has never participated in the FIFA World Cup?
Main and the biggest problem, which is hindering African football, is the misappropriation of funds and also mismanagement from the central government of the respective countries. I guess a case in example is Kenya. The FKF is a body which is usually on the watch of the ESC in light of the corruption cases, mismanagement, official bribing, all those things that are usually associated with bad management of corporation. And that's why the problems will trickle down to the players, and that's how they're affected. We have players in Europe, we have players in Asia, the likes of Wanyama, Ayub Timbe, Jonathan Mohammed. We have Bruce Gamau in Australia, but those kinds of quality we are not utilizing them because of one thing, mismanagement. The last time an East African country ever was close to qualifying for a World Cup was Uganda last year, but they lost to Egypt. That was the closest no East African team has ever played in the World Cup.
Now I'm going to introduce my second opinion leader, Martin Gitu, a coach with the Daystar City team, and he's going to share some of his highlights on the topic. Welcome, Mr. Martin.
Thank you very much for having me, Patrick. Yeah, to answer your question right now, I believe that the reason the major these players do not have chemistry when it comes to the field. All these players just meet at the field, and the coaches expect these players to perform magic when they meet for the first time. They don't even know the preference of the player, which foot they prefer. But the coaches expect the players to perform. It has been a sad story on our side, because we wish that we could engage more players to interact so that we can build the team chemistry in different players, which would be good too, which can actually increase our chances when we're playing in the World Cup against such teams as Belgium, even Brazil.
Thank you very much, Martin, for that. Now, gentlemen, I'd like to throw this question to you. What do you think are the chances for the African teams that are going to participate in the Russian 2018 World Cup? What are the chances in the Russia 2018 World Cup? Maybe we can start with you, Mr. Douglas.
A team like Nigeria, though they're in a tough group, they can be able to beat the highly rated teams like Argentina and Iceland. And also a team like Tunisia, they're also in a tough group, which consists of Belgium, England, and Panama, a group which consists of the perennial favorites to win the World Cup. But these African teams, they've showed us that they can become although they are the underdogs, they can defy the odds and they can win these tough matches. And hence, winning these tough group matches will only but strengthen their confidence, and that's why they have the ability to reach the finals. And also, another good example is a team like Senegal. Senegal, the team which is going for the 2018 edition of the World Cup, comprises of all players from European leagues. There's no single player in the domestic league of Senegal. But that brings back to my point that doesn't necessarily have to be a team full of European-based players, but we have to come up with a team which is diversifies both domestic and European leagues. Senegal has the capacity of winning many games in the World Cup. They are in a group which consists of Poland, Japan, and Colombia. It's a tough group, but with Senegal's power and quality, we see them progressing. Kenya, on the other hand, would like to develop our domestic football fast. The likes of Gor Mahia, of Leopards, they are still progressing, though they're not yet there.
Coach Martin, what do you think on the chance? What do you think are the chances for the African teams that are participating in the 2018 FIFA World Cup?
Well, it's a funny question there, because I believe that we have the potential. We have the potential in a lot of countries right now. But my favorite team, the team that I usually lean on in Africa to bring us to take us somewhere, to take us to a footnote closer to the World Cup, sadly did not qualify. My favorite team in the African continent is Ghana. They didn't qualify for World Cup. Right now, all my hopes are on Nigeria, Tunisia, and Egypt. Egypt, at least we have Salah. But although the African features right now, they are kind of difficult, because you find countries like Belgium have been grouped with Tunisia. Tunisia have never played Belgium before, so our fingers are crossed. Nigeria are meeting with Cameroon. Imagine, not Cameroon, Nigeria are meeting Argentina. Imagine the tension they have. These are people who have never met in the field, but now the coaches expect them to outplay some people like Aguero, people like Messi, which would be hard for us. Honestly speaking, from the pictures that I have seen of this World Cup, Africa will have a slim chance in the World Cup.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Martin, for that. Now I'm going to introduce my third opinion leader, Mr. Collins Wanyonyi, who is a former Daystar City player, and he's going to give us some sense of direction with this discussion, and maybe tell us what the Kenyan teams can do to up their game in order to be a participant of the big games, African Cup of Nations, and maybe eventually in the World Cup. Welcome, Mr. Collins, to the show.
We need to have structures. We need to have under 7, we need to have under 14, we need to have under 21, we need to have under 18. This is how we will grow our game. This is how European countries are doing. And when we do this and work together with our local coaches and identify talents from grassroots, we have so many talents in the grassroots. But the unfortunate thing is that Kenyan football tends to believe that football is only in Nairobi. And that is how we are doing poorly. That's how we are performing poorly, because the many talents that are in the grassroots that are not being nurtured and not being called to the national team. And so once we set up these academies that will accommodate talents from all over country, in fact from all over the counties, I think we need to set at least an academy in each county to nurture these talents, and that's how we grow the Kenyan game.
Thank you very much, Mr. Collins. I can see a tweet from Alan Ngugi, who says, the FIFA World Cup is the most anticipated sport in the world. Having our own team, Harambee Stars, play in it would be such an honor, and I'd kindly urge the Kenyan team to up their game and make us proud. Thank you for that, Alan Ngugi. Now, in my opinion, I think in Africa, generally, we have much talent. I mean, we had our Ghanaian team that made it to the semi-finals in the 2014 World Cup. That should show you that in Africa we have some potential. And narrowing down to Kenya, I think the Harambee Stars have some talent. We have high hopes with the national team. Gor Mahia, one of our clubs, played with Hull City, and that was a great challenge. And I think that here in Kenya we have the potential to even participate not only in the African Cup of Nations but in the FIFA World Cup 2022. I'd like to thank our viewers for watching The Bottom Line. You can subscribe, comment, and continue this conversation through our Twitter handles @Bottomline, @PMaingi. See you next time.